Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Scream Sanctuary podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is take number 4. It's your favorite ghost boy.
So this is going to be part 2 of the Christmas podcast. In this one, we're going to be more so, I guess, paying attention to Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Since I did put up a tweet asking what you guys wanted to hear about. In the first one, we more so paid attention to Gremlins, all of that, which I do have poll results.
I still say it's not a Christmas movie. Even though it's supposed to take place in Christmas. We're not going into this. Different podcast, different day.
So, how we're going to structure this is Phantom is going to be asking the questions. He's got my Twitter pulled up.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go back and forth about them, I guess.
All right.
So,
the first one is from the introvert one. He asks, what are your thoughts on 1974's Black Christmas and the Killer Billy?
So this is actually kind of funny that this one was asked because the same night that we actually started recording podcasts, you had mentioned when we were at dinner that I need to watch Black Christmas.
Because of just how delightfully terrible the remake is.
Yeah.
I'd seen the 74 one a while back, and I think we both kind of agreed our state,
yeah.
like what we think of both.
Yeah, so I watched Black Christmas last night. I watched the 74 one and the 2006 one.
That was a nice 3 hours.
Yeah, that's 4 hours of my life that I can't get back.
Thank you, Christmas horror.
But I will say the 74 one was way better. And for, a couple reasons. I did like the 2006 one because it had that backstory to it.
Yeah, more writing.
No, as in, like, the 74 one, I kind of felt like Billy was just, like, this third person that, like, nobody knew about. Like, nobody knew anything about him. He was just there. He was the slasher in the movie that didn't really have a backstory, I guess.
And if he did, it was so under the radar.
Yeah. And the reason why I like the 1974 one better is the girls in the movie actually had personality to them. I felt like the 2006 one kind of played up the dumb blonde approach with pretty much all the sorority girls.
How can you not love that blonde girl? And what about the brunette who threw up? And what about the sister of one of the girls?
I'm just gonna say it.
You can't
Phil
remember.
from the 1974 one was like probably one of my favorite movie characters ever. She was awesome.
Oh,
Phil,
right.
the girl with the glasses.
Yeah.
Kind of nerdy looking one.
Yeah, with the afro.
Velma
Yeah.
type vibe, yeah. She was great.
Did she die?
Yeah. She was one of the last ones to die.
I was gonna say.
And then
Didn't everybody die?
Jess even, like, I know towards the end she became, like, the main protagonist because, like, her boyfriend was, like, they were... And this is something that threw me off.
Spoiler.
Yeah. This is something that threw me off with this. They believed Peter, like, they made you think that Peter was the killer for, like, the entirety of the second half of the movie. Which just blew my mind because I believed it was Peter until the very end. I actually have notes on it.
Wait a minute, Peter
is
was
Jess's boyfriend.
the piano guy.
Yeah, the piano
He's
guy.
not?
No, he's not. And I'll tell you why. Spoiler, this is for the very end for anybody who hasn't seen it. At the very end...
Cut away if you haven't seen it.
No, at the very end, when the cops come and they realize that the killer is inside the house, they tell Jess that, you know, get out now. She refuses to get out. She ends up finding the body of Phil and I believe Barb. She's like this stupid drunk girl, but she's like super witty.
Okay.
No, I liked her a lot too.
Well, she's dead, so.
Yeah. But Jess ends up finding Barb and Phil in the bedroom, and then the cops end up coming and they end up finding Jess in the basement Pete, she like stabbed Peter to death because at that point she believed that Peter was the killer.
But they made it in shots where you could see it was him.
But here's the thing with that, is at the very end, right before the credits roll, and while the credits are rolling, actually, she's laying in bed, she's surrounded by cops.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
The cops end up walking out. There's a cop outside smoking, and you hear Billy laughing in the background.
Yeah, so it's implied he gets to her, too.
And then the phone rings.
Yeah.
So, is it Peter? Is it not Peter? You don't really know.
Well, yeah.
I think that's where they leave it open to interpretation.
But in one of the shots, the unicorn scene, the glass unicorn scene, you can clearly see it's him.
It looks like him, yeah.
It's clearly his. The actor, at least.
Let me bring up some notes, because I did take notes while watching this. I know
And for those of you who don't know, we didn't watch this together, per se. She watched it separately, but I would watch, while I was doing some stuff for the channel, I was peeking my head up and watching every so often. I just couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
But in the shot I see with the glass unicorn scene that everybody talked about for those movies, because it comes back in both movies. Mm-hmm. Where he stabs one of the girls with the unicorn, and again that happens in the remake.
Yeah.
It's clearly the dude. Yeah. Like, it's clearly in the shot, in the dark. It's his haircut, it's his eyes, it's everything.
But no, in the remake, they totally, like, get rid of the boyfriend card.
Well, yeah, he dies towards the end.
And then they totally, like... That's just something that they, like, totally omit in the second movie is...
They write him out very weirdly.
Well, and that's the thing, is Billy is given a backstory that literally has nothing to do with anybody except the fact that the sorority house was his house.
That's why he...
That's why he wants to return.
Yeah, it's his home. He's kicking everybody out and killing anybody that's involved.
But going back to the whole Peter thing and, like, how Peter could be the killer, I wrote some stuff down. One, first impression of Billy, the very first scene, he's on the phone, and I can't repeat what he says on the phone. Because
a lot of C words.
Yeah, it's a lot of C words. Total pervert, by the way. I made a note that actually says total pervert.
Yeah, because he watches everybody in the houses.
Yeah.
But that also kind of carries over in the other one.
So, I do... And this is when I was, like, trying to come up with all the proof that it could be Peter. And spoilers, by the way, because this is all stuff that happens within the movie, obviously.
Here, you know what? For the beginning of this podcast, we'll just do this, okay?
So I say Peter ? He was in the house when he snuck up on Jess, sneaks through the ladder in the beginning. He walks up the ladder and goes into the attic.
Yeah, because it's his room.
And at one of the later scenes, it's middle to end of the movie at that point. He was in the house when he, like, he was trying to be cute and sneak up on Jess while she was on the phone.
Right.
So how did he get in the house? Because you never see him come in. So that could be proof that it was him because he was already there.
Right.
He knows the number to the house.
True.
Peter was in the house when the first call came in, which Jess says later on, which could and couldn't debunk the fact that it was him.
Was he standing next to them when he came in? Because I
don't believe so.
Then he could have called from another phone in the house.
He suspiciously watches the house after leaving in a fit because he wants to have a baby and just doesn't. She's pregnant. She wants to abort the baby, but he wants to have the baby, so he leaves. And instead of just leaving, he actually stays behind, and you can see him, like, watching suspiciously as the cops are near the house. He's also not at the music hall, like Jess told the cops he would be.
Yeah.
They go to check up on the music hall, and he's not there.
And he screws up a piano.
And he also kind of stops chasing Jess halfway through. Yeah. That final scene. Yeah. So... It's that final scene right before she stabs him, where you're like, is it him? Is it not him?
Yeah.
like halfway through before she gets to the basement, he's nowhere to be found. So that could or couldn't be proof that it was him. Personally, I want to say it was him because it's easy to say it's him, but if it's canon that he was dead and she killed him, who was it at the end that was heard whistling
Ethereal.
in the background?
Could have been an ethereal thing like Jason.
Yeah.
I think
That
that's what
could
they
be the
were
other
honestly
thing.
setting it up for.
Yeah.
Every horror movie in the 80s and 70s, they have a trope of setting up sequels.
That being said, though, in conclusion, to answer the Twitter question, I did thoroughly enjoy the original.
Yeah.
More so than
better.
the original, or more so than the remake, because I feel like the characters were just more memorable.
The writing is better.
And despite the
first one.
second one having a backstory, I wish that would have been something that they threw into the first one.
Which, mind you, is a really messed up backstory.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't see the need to show up with...
Right.
Billy, okay, first off, the main bad thing about Billy is he had jaundice.
Yeah.
That's a very lazy disfigurement.
Well, not even jaundice. It would have been enough for him just to write the character as he was abused as a child and his mother was an asshole. That would have been enough.
The Rob Zombie approach?
Yeah. I mean, that literally would have
Well,
been
yeah,
enough.
the Rob Zombie, for paralleling Halloween, yeah, Rob Zombie did it better.
Like, that would
I don't
have...
like certain aspects of
Yeah.
it, but yeah, it was
I mean,
better.
but that would have explained how he got to be the way he was. Just that alone. He was abused as a kid and he was locked in the attic. You know, there didn't need to be anything of the spoiler again. There didn't need to be anything like him getting raped by his mother.
Okay, that
Was just messed up all the way
I
around.
think that actually would have been something I would have kept in the movie. And here's why.
But even without it, I think it would have been fine.
Is a motivation to kill somebody.
Yeah.
That is a motivation.
Well, especially a motivation to kill his sister later because his sister became the favorite.
I wish she died. I wish she wouldn't have lived because she had no reason to be. She was there for plot convenience, and so there was a second threat. Because here's the thing. The second one, there's not a threat in Billy. He's not a threat. The first one, he's the only threat.
Yeah.
The second one, I don't need to share the spotlight with two people who I know could kill people.
That's true.
I only want one person.
It didn't need to be Agnes, too. It could have just been Billy.
Well, yeah, but then he shows up. He just in the house.
And one thing I didn't like about the whole sorority thing that was really confusing in the second movie was how the older lady that was there.
McCrae.
Yeah.
Mrs. McCrae. She was also in the other one, though.
Yeah. But, like, one thing that I found super annoying about the second movie is how they, like, would put presents under the tree for Billy, and how, like, Miss McCrae was, like, super into, oh, let's open these presents for Billy. It's like, why would you, like, do that? Like, and that's even all the girls thought it was fucking stupid.
I think she should have lived.
Who, Miss McCrae?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She didn't need to die. She died to die.
I was sad that she died in the first movie. I liked her character in the first movie, too.
I don't really like her in the first movie. I liked her more in the second movie than the first movie. She seemed more motherly in the second movie.
Oh. Mm.
And more of a den mother. Because that's what she was. She's a den mother.
Yeah.
But what was it? Okay, that and then the second one's death scenes.
Mm-hmm.
An icicle? Really?
Yeah, I mean...
That was stupid. It wasn't even a heavy icicle. That was dumb.
And even though, like, the deaths in the first one weren't
brutal
super out there, like, and weren't as maybe creative, air quotes, as the second one, I think it got the job done better in the first one, just overall.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, don't get me wrong. Okay, this is where I have problems with. The second movie, Billy has an obsession with eyeballs.
Yeah,
Why?
didn't get that.
It's
Like,
this movie is an Oculus. This isn't...
I understand, like, the whole thing, like, with the Dow in his backstory, but even then it was, like...
That makes sense.
Yeah. They didn't have
him then ripping out everybody's eyes after killing them doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What is the appeal to that? Oh, because he's ripping away their windows to their soul. They're dead. They don't got no souls anymore. Their eyes are they're useless then.
Yeah.
You're just doing it for shock value at that point, and then eating it and all that was so dumb. I'm sorry, like I just cringe at it. And not because it's disturbing, because it's just stupid. It's not worth keeping tabs on. Okay, I'm sorry. We're getting way off topic. But okay.
Good movie.
1974's Black Xmas was better than the remake. We both kind of agree on that.
Billy is a total pervert. I still don't know if it's Peter
I like Billy more in the first one because I don't see who he is.
Yeah. That, and I think that like crazy like just like never like really knowing who he is, kind of that mystery behind it was like,
and he could live on,
and only hearing his voice.
Yeah.
And like hearing how actually crazy he was.
That, and like we mentioned before, he's the only threat. Yeah. You don't have to share a threat.
My biggest question is, why does nobody look in the fucking attic though? Like in either movie.
The woman, no, the first, the second one, Megan.
Yeah.
Megan goes up there, and then she gets killed.
The housemaid too.
Yeah, they both get up there, and they get killed.
But other than that, like
no, other than that, no.
Nobody.
Oh yeah, and then another question. Okay, another one more thing, last thing about this. If you're putting a plastic bag over someone's head to suffocate them, you don't need to stab them 70 times in the head to kill them. Because as we've seen in the first one,
right?
as we've seen in the first one, you can clearly do it normally.
Yeah.
He kills the only girl he kills in the beginning is with the plastic bag. And
Claire,
kills her. Yeah, just kills her by suffocation. No, in the second one, kills her by taking her head, wrapping it around in the bag, and then just stabbing her in the face.
Yeah. She was already dead.
And not only that, but then they reused the same kill like 4 more times. But that again, so we've established 74 is better than 06.
Yeah.
Way more story driven, makes more sense. I liked the caroler scene.
And despite there not being a backstory for Billy,
it's more fleshed out.
Yeah.
In a weird way. I don't need to see him. You get enough.
Well, and like I said, overall the characters were more memorable.
Yeah.
I liked the girls from the first one rather than.
Well, I remember Billy more too from the first one. I remember that camera shot. Remember when I made fun of the camera shot? There's a camera shot of him walking up to the house, and it's all like crooked and kind of weird and wavy. I was like, oh, that's really weird, but that kind of gives you some insight into how he sees the world. He's just super fast, pretty much.
Yeah.
And at a different height level than everyone else. I don't know. It just seemed like there was more personality to the movie.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could put it. And so, yeah. So 74's was better than the second one. Don't ever remake that movie, please. So thank you, Introvert One, for that question. The next one is from the Sorelka asks, why Christmas horror is never really viewed as scary, but it is played for laughs in film. And I can tell you why. I'd mentioned to you that I can answer this question on the podcast. It's because it's the most joyful time of the year, and people are getting brutalized.
Yeah, it's not technically
ironic.
supposed to be scary.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
Your time placement and setting mean a lot to the aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
For example, if they had Friday the 13th take place in the middle of winter, first off, there would be no camp counselors to kill. Secondly, Jason would have to bust out of ice. And with how deep that lake is, he'd have to do some drilling. Okay? Like,
I would love that.
That's what I'm saying, is it all depends on the type of movie you want. Yes, Christmas can be a horrifying thing, like getting strangled with lights. Again, going back to the Black Xmas thing. Somebody gets strangled with lights, Christmas lights. That's a good image for a murder film, because it creates a different kind of tone, because these things are used to literally light up our lives. No pun intended. But you know, all horror movies that take place on Christmas, they're not scary that much. They're just really funny, and that's because it's the irony. It's super ironic that you are getting destroyed on the happiest day of the year.
I mean, context destroyed.
As in brutalized, murdered. That too. It's the most wonderful time.
No, but
All right.
yeah, I mean, I think pretty much the same thing too. I mean, it's not, and that's the funny thing about it is a lot of these Christmas horror movies aren't meant to be funny. Like they don't make these movies with the intention of them being funny.
Yeah, but they're so funny.
But they're so over the top, and it's like it's so over the top in most cases that you can't help but be like, wow, like what am I even watching right now?
Right, and I refer back to the Black Xmas 2006 remake's
Yeah.
Icicle Kill.
Mm-hmm.
That would never happen that way.
Yeah.
Ever. And they tease it too earlier on
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. So like someone's gonna die. It's so there's no writing in these movies. If they had a good script to make me fear Christmas, I
Yeah.
would, but I don't fear Christmas because it's a good time.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. Another thing is I feel like it also takes away from the movie
Mm-hmm.
because you're preoccupied with it being Christmas.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the fact that these people are getting murdered. They're getting murdered on Christmas. That's the big detail.
Yeah.
Like, oh, guess what? Oh, look in the present. Oh, it's a head. Like that's playing into the theme of Christmas because Christmas always comes first in horror movies. That's why, what was it? That one series, Holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of the murders is over the top because it fits the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Easter's done well. I don't know. You watch if any of you haven't seen it, watch the Easter skit for Holidays. It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's super creepy, and that's exactly how you need to write a holiday horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is you need to make it so twisted and actually twisted, psychologically twisted.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just rely on a slasher.
Yeah.
I hope that answered that question. Because honestly, Christmas isn't scary.
No.
You gotta make it scary. Put effort.
Well, that's the thing is even with that new Hulu series that I plan on watching too, Into the Dark,
Yeah. Which,
that I talked about in the first episode. I'll quickly recap. It's a Netflix movie series. They're like full-length movies, and each one documents one holiday. They did Halloween and Thanksgiving. They're putting out the Christmas one on December 7th. And it's a horror movie based around a holiday.
right.
So, but I'm excited for that reason.
Right.
Because I know it's going to be over the top. But whether it's done well or not, I guess is going to be the question.
I guess we'll move on to the next one then.
Yeah.
That's why though.
Yeah.
So, Evan 007 on TV tweeted us this one. How about the potential for an R-rated version of A Christmas Carol? So he's asking, is there potential?
What, like,
using
is there one
the
already?
story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think Scrooge is already weird and kind of
Well, he
introverted in a way and just
Yeah.
really, like, has potential to be that, like, murderous bad guy. That I think would be really cool to see.
He kind of does.
Yeah. Because he kind of does
Tiny Tim.
already, so it's not, like, a huge stretch to assume.
Well, what is it? He tells Bob Cratchit he's working through Christmas, and Tiny Tim doesn't have a few days left, so he's selfish. He's ignorant to facts.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He
Yeah.
wants money. But that's the reason why A Christmas Carol works, is because he is selfish and ignorant, and that story is about changing him.
Yeah.
So you can't really brand it as A Christmas Carol, but more about Ebenezer Scrooge as a character. And that's don't get me wrong. Okay, what was it? The scenes from the remake Christmas Carol, the animated one with Jim Carrey as Scrooge. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I haven't.
We'll watch it.
It's been forever
It's
since
good.
I've seen the
It's
original
good.
Christmas Carol, but I know enough about it.
These scenes in the Ghost of Future, the Ghost of Christmas Future, they're creepy.
Yeah.
They're pretty dang creepy. They go all out with showing Scrooge. If you do not change, you're gonna die
Yeah.
alone and broken. Like it's scary. The imagery, especially as a child, because that's when I saw it, it was creepy.
Yeah.
And of course everybody's gonna automatically go, well, horror and the ghosts. The ghosts of Christmas present, past, and future. They could all be scary, but the thing is they're not all fearful.
Right.
The only one that uses fear as a tactic for Scrooge to change is the future. So, I mean, you could have a Christmas Carol movie, but you could have, like, a horror scene in Christmas future.
Right.
You know? I don't know if you can make a whole movie based off of horror, though. Like, for that story, without changing it. If you can write it, and you're going to have to write it very well.
Yeah.
Again, you would be unwriting Christmas Carol and writing the story of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Right.
I think.
Well, I feel like the whole idea of a horror Christmas Carol would be based off purely Scrooge, because of the person that he already is.
Right.
So, like I said, it wouldn't be that much of a stretch to make a movie like that.
Actually, you know what might work? Writing a prequel to it.
Yeah.
In horror theme. How did Scrooge get the way he was?
Yeah.
I mean, they explore his childhood in the first, or well, in every movie they explore his childhood. I mean, there you could write a horror story.
Yeah.
I don't know about the present though. See, that's where you lose me. You can write it before how he got to where he was, which is horrible, or you can go to after how he is and how he is horrible.
So again, the Halloween approach that Rob Zombie
Right.
took with Halloween.
You gotta. I mean, you could do both, I guess.
Yeah.
But the point of a story is you have to have a character go. All pretty much all stories follow. I don't know if you've heard of it, the hero's journey. You ever heard that phrase before in writing?
Yeah, I took mythology.
Yeah. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
So the Odyssey. You know, there's always a pretty much there's always your character. He goes in being ignorant to a fact. He then has to confront something that makes him learn that fact. He then goes away learning the fact.
Yeah.
So, and taking it to heart and learning from it. So, and that's a Christmas Carol follows that too. He comes in being ignorant to the fact that he's so selfish and single-minded and money hungry. He then gets the conflicts then arise of him meeting the ghosts and being tormented, quote unquote, by the spirits. Now, that could be torture, I guess, if you really want to write it that way, but then that comes off as a little cheesy. He doesn't learn anything. He's being sphered into it. So, I mean, for example, we bring up the Halloween movie a lot, this podcast.
Yeah.
The remake of the Halloween movie. I know the plot summary. I didn't watch it, but I know what happens.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, well, I was curious, and you haven't seen it yet, so I didn't want to spoil anything for you.
Yeah.
But I am going to bring up a character from it, which everybody should know about if they've seen the trailer, so this isn't going to be as spoilery. The sister, grown up.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Yeah.
Think about it, okay? What did she learn?
I mean, that her brother is psycho.
Right. Other than that, but think of if you put it in this mentality.
I mean, she got smart.
But if you put it in this mentality, what did she learn? She really didn't.
No.
She's going after Michael.
She wants to get even, but whether she's successful or not, I haven't seen it yet. So
she's a weird character in the fact you want her to succeed, obviously, because revenge.
Right.
But if we're talking about the hero's journey again, putting it in that frame, she didn't learn anything because she was motivated by fear.
Right.
Michael came after her, and I don't even know if he wanted to kill her.
Right.
So he just scared her a lot, which then motivated her to change into a vengeance character. But even then, she's still letting it get to her.
Right.
So I don't know. It's weird to think about that. If you need to write a Christmas Carol horror movie, there is potential, but it's gonna have to be a good writing session, and you can't just pull like a Hellraiser, in terms of like being like we have things to show you sort of deal. You know what I mean? Which obviously they didn't do anything, but
Mm-hmm.
they planned on taking her through different stages of hell.
Yeah.
So you can't do that though. You can't be like, oh, the ghost of Christmas past is gonna show you how you were abused as a kid, which you could do that. And then the present is showing how you're not appreciated, maybe, and then like future, you're gonna die broken and alone, and nobody's gonna love you, and all this other stuff. So it's all psychological at that point. Then I think it might have to be a psychological horror movie
Yeah.
if you really need to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should. I think it's hard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could, by all means, if you can write a really good Christmas Carol horror movie. I mean, me and Cass will probably be the first ones here to congratulate you in love for the movie, because I'm more of the psychological horror type. Which, if you think about it, actually, that's what the third act is all about of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Is showing Scrooge stuff he doesn't want to see in hopes it'll change him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but if you're showing him the entire time stuff he doesn't want to see, does that really work? You know, the only reason why his actions are so impactful in the third act is because of everything he's seen before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry. I kind of took the reins on this conversation, but it just interests me how people would think of that.
Yeah.
Because it's
it
weird.
is an interesting concept.
It's definitely out there, and if they can do it really well, do it. All right, so then the next one and the final one is from Viking Gamer 95, with underscores in there somewhere. They ask about Christmas themed ghost legends, which Cass has a bunch of them.
They do have a couple of them. I'm gonna touch on a couple different legends that we're more familiar with. Elf on a Shelf being one example, Krampus being another one, but I'll do Krampus. Krampus.
That's the.
It's a crumpet.
That's Mount Crumpet is where Grinch lives.
Yeah.
So that's a scary movie.
So for those that didn't know, the whole Christmas, from what I was reading up on, the whole idea of there being Christmas ghost stories actually came about. It's more so, it's more popular in the UK than the US. And it actually started before the Victorian era. So telling ghost stories on Christmas has been a huge thing throughout history. We just never really hear about it. Except for, of course, Christmas horror movies, per se, and Krampus and all of that stuff.
Krampus. Living on Mount Crumpet.
Yep. Krampus, crumpet, potato, leave me the fuck alone.
Tomato.
Okay, so 5 holiday ghost stories that will make you wait for Santa with the lights on. This is from a site called, ironically, Hello Giggles. Scary in its own right, but yeah, so it touches on pagan themes. Obviously, most people know that Christmas is kind of laced with paganism, I guess.
Okay.
It was actually talked about in the remake of Black Christmas too, when the girls mentioned it, that it's actually more a pagan holiday, which is interesting, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Why? Paganism is totally a horror thing.
Uh-huh.
Can be. Have you seen The Rite?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have.
Fuck. That movie. There's a part in the very beginning of that movie where Hopkins' character does an exorcism and the fucking pregnant lady starts swearing in Polish, and I have nightmares every single time I watch that movie because my family's Polish. So the first one we have here is Oh Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad. So it's a Victorian story from the classic Victorian ghost story writer M.R. James.
I never heard of him. Actually.
So the story takes place around Christmas time in the fictional English town of Burnstow. A snobby Cambridge professor decides to take a holiday to seaside town where he discovers an old whistle with the Latin inscription on the side. Already, you can kind of tell where this is going. Satanism. Alright.
I love that Satan. That screams holiday cheer.
Unable to read the Latin warning, the professor blows into the whistle. That night, the professor is plagued with horrifying dreams about a mysterious figure in the distance he can't quite place. His dreams become reality when he finds that the unused bed next to his own in the bed and breakfast he's staying at was disturbed while he was out. So that's kind of worded weird. Basically, the bed next to his was found to be all shuffled when nobody was staying next to him.
Beautiful.
From that.
Ghost babies.
This was actually adapted into a BBC small screen, renamed Whistle and I'll Come to You. So there's that.
For those of you who couldn't hear, I just whistled at her. It was a very weak whistle.
You want to save this?
We're good for right now.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're good.
So the second one is Horror, A True Tale from John Berwick Harwood, another Victorian ghost story master. Wrote this ghastly tale from the perspective of a narrator looking back onto an event in her young childhood. When she was 19, the narrator's family was hosting Christmas in a large hall of their home. Due to the influx of guests, the narrator had to give up her room to an elderly relative. The narrator took refuge in a spare bedroom. Very creepy bedroom, they know. While trying to sleep, the narrator could not help but feel something was lying beside her. Harwood describes the girl's frenzied thoughts. Quote, "And yet what lay by my side, now wholly unseen, I strove to pray aloud as there rushed on my memory a flood of weird legends, and I shuddered as I gazed on the blank darkness where I knew it lay. It stirred, it moaned hoarsely. I drew myself from it, shrinking away in loathing and terror of the evil thing. What I knew not, but felt that something malignant was near." So, that was Horror, A True Tale.
So
if you want the full, I'm just going through and kind of reading short synopsises of these. I'll link the article that I'm reading from.
Down below.
That one does sound interesting, though.
It does.
And the GIF that they actually use, just to give you guys a image, is when the scene, I believe it's from The Grudge, I want to say, but when the girl's laying in bed and the Grudge actually ends up at the end of the foot of the bed underneath the blanket. That's what I sound like on the phone. All right.
That's what I sound like too on the phone.
Number 3, Christmas Carol, actually. Compilation would not be complete without mentioning the most renowned holiday ghost story, A Christmas Carol, obviously by Charles Dickens, first published in 1843. I won't read too much of that one because we all know what The Christmas Carol is about.
As we just talked about 1,000 times over.
Yeah. So Scrooge hates Christmas and cares only for the change in his pocket. Which actually, now that I think about it, The Grinch is probably loosely based on Christmas Carol.
It is.
Because the Grinch and Scrooge kind of parallel a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, in a way, it's without him coming to a realization through action, more so than just experience.
So the Scrooge hates Christmas and cares only for a change in his pocket. Christmas Day, while Scrooge spends his holiday alone, he is visited by the ghost of his former business partner. Marley is bound in chains and weighed down by money boxes. He warns Scrooge to avoid the same fate. So, that's that. A Christmas Ghost Story by Danny B. Stewart. This is a modern tale. It's described as a short, sweet, and seasonably heartwarming tale. During a late December snowstorm, a young boy treks out to a barn on his property while on a mission to feed the horses and check on a litter of kittens. Just before entering the barn, the boy falls and injures his hand. He wishes his mother was there to comfort him. That's sad. While he rests and feels sorry for himself, he hears soft music from his father's radio, yet his father is nowhere in sight. The boy turns the radio off, Then the radio turns back on by itself. That's a classic.
Okay.
And this time, Silent Night croons over the speakers. Again, he turns it off. But again, it turns back on. A warm hug-like sensation overcomes the boy, and he feels better. After this experience, the boy searches for the same version of Silent Night to no avail. Perhaps it was the spirit of Christmas providing him with comfort and joy. Number 5, I believe this is the last one, the story of Krampus.
Krampus. As she likes to say, at least.
Obviously less of a ghost story and more of a myth, but it's perhaps the best known of the weird Christmas-related legends. Half goat, half demonic creature. Krampus is the punisher of naughty children. Draped in chains and bells, he tags along with St. Nicholas during the Christmas season and beats bad children with birch branches or stuffs them into his sack and hauls them away to the hidden lair in the underworld. According to National Geographic, here's a little mythology for everybody. Krampus is supposed son of Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. His name comes from the German word claw, Krampen, and his legend has been woven into century-old German Christmas traditions, which is, fun fact, there's also a variation of the story in Polish tradition as well. It's under a similar name, I believe, so...
Krampus.
I believe it is, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I remember it. There is a similar story in Polish tradition.
See, I just know it because of the black comedy movie.
And now in modern times, the Krampus legend has been reborn into annual Krampus runs, during which costume men take the streets to scare children and adults into being nice. Yeah, so that's that. Overall, I mean, I wish the whole tradition of there being ghost stories around Christmas would be more of a thing in U.S. tradition, because I feel like, like I said earlier, from my research, it's more of a UK thing, English tradition, rather than Americanized.
States, yeah.
That's why we don't hear a lot of these.
And then Black Xmas comes out. And then that's our ghost story.
Just a slasher.
Just a jaundice-filled man comes by and just kills everybody. That's our ghost story.
Yeah. No joke.
It's the hash-slinging slasher.
My God, stop.
The sash ringing. The flash pinging.
Yeah, so I'll link all those below if I find any other good articles about ghost stories.
There's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a lot.
A lot of non-American ones.
Yeah. So.
I think that this has been a weird Christmassy blend.
It got me in the mood for Christmas.
Why do people dying make you in the mood for Christmas? I guess this is why it's
I'm always in the mood for Halloween, and anything that borderlines Halloween with Christmas. I'm
Nightmare
down
Before
for.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Let's watch it. Everybody go watch it.
I'm down.
Actually, you're sitting up. Haha, bad puns are bad.
I might murder him by the end of the night, guys.
It is the Scream Sanctuary, after all. Would it be right if I was just yelling at the top of my lungs?
Please don't. My grandma's probably asleep.
Alright, no, I'm just kidding.
Alright.
Thank you guys for the questions. Please, by all means, tweet us with more questions.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Probably on a regular basis, I'll be asking what you guys want to hear for the next upcoming podcast. If we can't come up with any new ideas, I know we have a found footage one coming up, probably one on video games.
Eventually.
Horror-related video games.
We tried that one too, but we were just exhausted.
Super tired. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be able to get more in depth on it.
Yeah, so if you, if you guys have any questions, ideas for the upcoming podcasts in the future.
Topics a lot, use hashtag Scream Sanctuary.
Yep.
Or use our Twitter handles.
All the stuff will be linked below as always. I'll
Yeah.
have my information and his information, so
I'm Phantom. That's
you guys
me.
can find us.
But either way, I'm gonna say it out loud. Hers is silent _tyrant _, and that's all capped. Mine is it's Phantom _ with a 0 instead of an O.
Not an M.
Not an M. I'm sure that'll be in there at some point. I don't know if I kept that.
I don't think you did.
Well, that's why it's take 4. But other than that, you know, be sure to tweet us both, because, you know, I'm locked in her Scream Sanctuary. I need friends. It's dark in here. Thank you for bringing me out of the basement for the podcast.
I only use him for podcasts.
Yeah, I otherwise it's sit on the laptop and do my editing.
I do my own editing.
That's
God.
Okay, well, I talked out of turn. Now I don't get lunch. Anyway,
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.